You know how much setup I have to do? I have to come over to the computer, turn it on. I have to put my headphones on. That's it.
And that's it? That's all you got?
A lot of work. You have to get women to bail on your dates?
Got to get women to bail on me.
Was this a Tinder date, Shane?
No. So this chick, it's pretty funny. Like, we've actually bailed on each other more times than we've actually gone out with each other. It's pretty funny.
Dude, I've had that relationship before, and I would say it's entertaining to say the least. It keeps things fresh, you know?
Yeah. I've had the same where it's like then you fast forward a little bit. It's like, oh, I've been seeing this girl for 3 months. Oh, it must be serious. No, we've been on 4 days.
No, not at all. It's pretty much exactly. Yeah, not serious in any way whatsoever. But yeah, it's fun.
Is she watching right now? Is that why she's bailing? Because she didn't want to be deprived by your content?
Allegedly issues with her kid, but whatever.
Allegedly.
Like I said, allegedly. Like, I don't believe anything.
I think that if you're having issues with your kids, that you should put on our show. I think that our show is a strong disciplinary presence in the household.
Oh, to say the least.
We uphold the moral code of society, right? I think we're fun for the whole family. Not fun. We're instructive.
Yeah, I think so. We were just talking about the importance of faith in our lives.
Yeah,
I feel like we have to exclude
the Bible.
A lot of people
that Shane talked about his kid's bedroom, excluding that episode.
But I think a lot of people would be surprised about how much Jacob and I rely on our faith.
That's true. I have faith in Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, so let's just get right into this. Why the fuck is everyone? Why is everyone on Twitter, and it's all the time with everything, just such a copycat?
Shane, what's the Mount Rushmore of threads?
Catch up.
No, the threads thing. I mean, the thing is, like, obviously, it's like this. It's just an algo hack, right? So, like, I think like Joe Holka has talked about it a lot, and he's like correct. I'm not saying this to like besmirch Joe Holka. It's just like if you tweet things in thread form, and especially if you do this like really like ridiculous. I remember, Chase, we talked about this like 3 months ago, right? When it was just kind of starting and it wasn't like as much of a thing. And I was like, here's what Twitter's really picking up right now. And it's like threads that direct to your own tweets. And then the thing that frustrates the hell out of me is like, I actually like used to write a ton of threads, like, but it would be more like stream of consciousness style things.
Yeah.
But the way people do it now is it's like, the process is so clearly different where I've seen people being like, oh, I do threads. Like, do you hate me? No, I don't. I don't hate threads. Threads are fine. What I hate is when people are like, I'm going to write a thread. What shall I write it about? The other way, it's like, I want to write about X. I'll do a thread about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a very
just write a fucking article. Just write an article and print it. Just write an article, print it, fucking publish it. Let me read it all in one sitting instead of trying to have to fucking go through your fucking thread. I don't like anyone that does threads. I like old school threads. People, like you said, it was a stream of consciousness. It came out of nowhere. It was just like, hey, these are these thoughts, and it kind of just keeps going. And it's like one of, and it's always that I don't know because it's going to end when it fucking ends. Now it's like, oh no, I pre-planned this. I baked this in my kitchen. I'm going to do a thread one of 419. Like, oh,
speaking of
who I wish would
baking
do threads,
kitchen,
who I wish would do threads, by the way, is Josina Anderson. Every single time that she tweets out updates on the Watson stuff, it's 5 separate tweets, and it's never in a thread. Like, I would give anything for her to have it.
And she's always quote tweeting herself, isn't she?
Yeah.
Confusing the shit out of me. I'm Inception. I have no idea which one's the first. Exactly.
Her tweets are like the Russian nesting dolls. It's like she'll tweet one thing and then she'll QT on that, and QT on that. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
Well, Shane, would you even know how to cook up a thread if you were in the kitchen? I mean, we've talked about the rice cooking and how you overcook, enough rice for an entire city. Would you know how to cook up a thread in a kitchen?
So let me just say this. It was like 2 or 3 months ago, I had a very proud moment when I made the correct amount of rice for myself. And I thought back to the first time that I cooked the rice for myself and had enough for, like a fucking small nation. And I was so proud of myself, and I didn't have anyone to share that moment with. But anyway. All right.
Man.
Let's
go
go
ready
live.
To start the show?
Let's go live.
We are live, but we can start the show.
Yeah, we're going.
All these guys, and they don't give us a.
This is Fantasy Intervention. life, Shane Manila, Jacob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
Oh, yes. What is up, everybody? Welcome on in to Fantasy Intervention. Yes, I missed that. Oh, I am Chase Fern, your host. I'm joined by, of course, Jacob Sanderson. You can find him at FF_RTDB over there on the Twitter sphere. And Shane Manila at Shane is the worst. You guys can also find my handle. Of course, I'm going live from it over there on Twitter at FF_Intervention. However, if you are watching over there on Twitter, I need you to come over to YouTube, youtube.com/fantasy intervention, because guess what? We cannot see your tweets. We cannot see your comments over there on Twitter. We need to see them on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Come join us. And like Gator J said, hit that subscribe button too. A big shout out to Fantasy Football Discussion. We're live in their chat as well over there on Facebook. Samson, what's up, man? Glad you're here, even though we don't know you. John Johnson, longtime fan of the show. What's up, John? We are breaking down the AFC East and the AFC West today. We're going to do a lot more talking about the AFC West, obviously. But let's go ahead and start out with the AFC East and get it out of the way. We have three teams that are going to be very, very good this year, and maybe one team that's going to be shaky. Either way, we need to find offensive skill position players in this division, right? We need to find the stacks later on. Of course, we have like week 17 matchups that we want towards when it comes to the Patriots and the Jets.
Wait. You said three teams in the AFC East are going to be very good this year?
I think they're going to be solid, and then you have one that's probably going to be shaky.
So we have different definitions of good, apparently.
I think the AFC East has one team that's going to be very good this year.
Well, we have one team that's going to be great, but very good is still a winning record, I think, right?
Well, let's get into the players.
I don't think that there will be three teams with a winning record in this division. Let's start there.
We're not a football show. No one cares about the teams. We care about the fantasy players. Let's get into the fantasy players, bro.
Wait, we're not a football show?
Yeah, we're
fantasy football.
When are we debuting basketball content? Should we do croquet content? What about archery?
Croquet is actually a bird.
It's a hell of a drug. It's a hell of a drug.
So what team are we going to hit first?
Let's talk about what I think is probably the most interesting team, and it's the Dolphins this year.
Yeah,
I mean, we have multiple players that could end up being very good. We don't really know how this offense is going to look. If it's anything like the 49ers offense, then we're not going to see a whole lot of passing. We're not going to see a whole lot of relevance, from the wide receivers. We're going to see, a better version of Brandon Ayuk over there with Jalen Waddle. We're going to see maybe a similar version of Deebo Samuel with Tyreek Hill, but that probably won't last very many games. We have a player who could end up catching balls out of the tight end position in Mike Gesicki, but he can't block for shit, so we don't know how he's going to be used. Meanwhile, the running back room is a complete shit show. Oh, man. Let's start out with Tua, right? Because he's the center of the offense. How do you view Tua this season? Do you think that he's a relevant player in fantasy for 2 quarterback leagues, for 1 quarterback leagues? Where do you view him? Where do you have him ranked? We'll start with you, Shane.
I have him solidly in the mid-quarterback 2 rankings because he's just not very good, as we saw last year. I don't care if I was his receiver. He was just not good. Devontae Parker is a professional receiver. Jalen Waddle is more than a professional receiver. Mike Gesicki was a good receiver. Adding Tyreek Hill to the team is not going to make Tua all of a sudden a good quarterback. You're going to be disappointed by Tyreek Hill. You're going to be disappointed by Mike Gesicki. And it's largely because Tua is not going to be able to support 3 fantasy pass catching assets. Waddle, I still think will be fine.
Yeah, I think Tua is fine, but I think he's quite overdrafted, to be entirely honest. I mean, you look at everybody that's going ahead of Tua, either they have a proven ability to be, at least a borderline QB1 with their arm, or they at least project either that demonstrated or projectable rushing upside that Tua doesn't really have. So to me, like, he's being drafted well ahead of guys like Tannehill and Goff, in Mac Jones, etc. I suppose just based off of the weapons really is what people are getting after here. But I don't know. I mean, last year, Tua's situation was pretty good for him in a number of different ways. First of all, they had a high pass rate over expectation last year, way higher than what San Francisco ran with Mike McDaniels. I expected to probably be passing a lot less this year in that McDaniels offense. They also really did tailor the offense to Tua's strengths. People have said that it wasn't, but you look at how Tua's operated. He's done the best on RPOs and play action. They had a really high rate of RPOs, like an egregiously high rate of RPOs in Miami last year. They were pretty much spoon feeding exactly what he succeeds best at. Now, Tyreek Hill, obviously a major improvement, but he's being drafted within earshot of like the Cousins, Carr, Rodgers tier. I would prefer him much further down, closer to the Tannehill, Mac Jones, Jared Goff contingent in terms of the guys who will give you serviceable QB2 production in a super flex. I would not be counting on him for QB1 upside. I think that really in today's day and age, with all the rushing quarterbacks we have, you need elite pass volume and efficiency to contend with those guys. I'm not seeing Tua, posting up a Tom Brady, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott type of season through the air.
I mean, so I don't think that he's going to end up, top 10, probably not top 12 either. But I mean, he did have the highest completion rate for deep ball attempts in 2021. We're going to see.
What was the volume on that?
It was horrible volume, which I was getting to.
Okay. You'll get
let me finish my point. So he didn't see.
When have we ever done that before?
Yeah, why would we let you finish your point? I already know your point's stupid. That's why me and Jacob are
we
here.
haven't done a three-way show in like a year, but I think you forgot the point of the show. It's for you to get half through a take and us to bully you.
God. Once again, welcome back to Fantasy Intervention, Shane. Oh my God. No, but Tua, he doesn't attempt a ton of deep balls, but he is efficient with them. What if they do end up tending to pass a little bit more often because they don't have the run game dialed in? Maybe Mike McDaniel wanted to actually open up the passing game, but Kyle Shanahan was like, hey, don't forget about the run. I mean, is there a world where we could see more passing attempts from Tua and he could still keep the same efficiency in terms of deep ball completion percentages?
Yeah, the problem is worlds, they're going to go, what's this way when it's sideways? Is that
lateral?
Lateral. They're going to go lateral instead of horizontals, long way, that way.
Yeah.
Instead of forward.
Vertical.
Yeah, vertical. Instead of vertical, they're going to go across the field instead of up the field. That's the problem. That's why they got Tyreek Hill. They're going to try to use him like he was used in Kansas City when he first got there. That's my fear.
I can't remember if I made this point on the show before, if I only made it on Twitter, maybe both. But when it comes to like the Tua deep ball thing, I want you to think about it this way, right? If you're a poker player, if you're at the blackjack table and you're a more aggressive blackjack player, you're getting them to hit you, on 16, on 17, right? Like on net, you're going to have more 21s. You're also all of a sudden, you're not going to have a very high bust rate, right? But if you're only saying hit on 12, on 13, on 14, and you're staying at every 15, 16, 17, you're not going to have as many 21s. You're not going to have as many 20s, but you're certainly going to bust a lot less. To me, that's how I look at Tua's deep ball completion percentage, is where he's only throwing the easy ones, right? That's why it's so high, because he's a conservative deep ball passer. So when he sees someone wide open, okay, sure, he hits it. You should be able to hit it. He's not throwing deep contested balls down the field like other people are. That's actually the name of my third album, is Deep Contested Balls. The point being is that I think that his self-selection is what's creating that high completion percentage. So it's not like he's an incapable deep ball passer, but I strongly think that if he just starts launching it down the field, you're going to see now he's throwing into more risky situations. It's not going to keep up. I see a Tua or Baker in the chat, and I think they're kind of similar. I think Tua's a better decision maker. I think Baker plays with more reckless abandon. But I think that they're both guys that have some limitations in terms of their arm talent. They're both mobile, but they're not really rushers. I think they can work within the confines of a situation. I think Baker's more likely to just murder your team with an interception that no one asked for or needed. But both they're kind of just I don't know. To me, they're like Bridgewater, Tannehill, Goff, these guys where it's in the right system, they can look entirely serviceable. They're not really winning you anything. They're not going to lose you anything if they have the wheels alongside them. And if the wheels fall off, it could be a bit of a disaster.
All right. So let's go ahead and move on to the conversation piece of Tyreek Hill, because right now he's kind of all over the place. I mean, you see sometimes he falls in drafts to the third round. Tech leagues can fall all the way to the fourth or fifth round on occasion. It's not very often. Meanwhile, Waddle stayed kind of consistent when it comes to his ADP outside of Dynasty, which I guess this is Dynasty intervention. So, where you guys feel like these guys land in terms of value? Like, let's talk about maybe some players that you'd be willing to move off or acquire him for if you like him. If you don't like him, what would you be willing to move off of him for?
I'm moving Tyreek Hill. I'm not acquiring him in any league, and I moved him in every league I owned him in.
I'm trying.
Yeah,
but I can't get rid of all of them.
23 firsts and Adam Thielen. 23 first and not CD Lamb. Jesus, of course I would. Corey Davis and a 23 first.
Really,
Corey Davis.
Look, the important part of each of those trades is the 23 first. Then I'm just getting a wide receiver. Then I'm like, all right, I need to put someone on the roster at some point. Maybe I can stream this guy. I don't really care, to be quite honest with you. And I think Adam Thielen might even have a decent enough season where you don't even miss Tyreek Hill with his new digs. There's actually zero proof that Tyreek Hill is actually good without Patrick Mahomes, because he wasn't good in college.
Stop this. Get him off
real
the
quick.
Show. Get him off
real
the show.
quick. Real quick, I do see some questions coming in over here on the YouTube page and from Facebook. We will get to those questions as the show progresses, so don't think that we forgot about you. We're going to get to them. I just want to make sure that it's at the right time, so we don't have to break up the show into different segments.
All right, get them now.
I'll be quick because
we'll get to it.
I'll be quick because my opinion is pretty similar to Shane's. I've been shopping the crap out of Tyreek Hill in Dynasty. I've not been taking him in best ball. Like in best ball, he goes around the same turn as AJ Brown and T Higgins, both of whom I very much prefer. I also prefer Michael Pittman to Tyreek Hill. Quite frankly, when I did my projections for the Miami Dolphins, I prefer Jalen Waddle to Tyreek Hill. I actually have him outscoring him very slightly, but even that slight outscore, like I can get Waddle a full round later than Tyreek Hill. He's going at the next turn, the 3-4 turn instead of the 2-3. So if I want to bet, like, this is an offense that I'm a little bit out on their passing game. I think they're a little overpriced, but to me, if I'm going to take a bet on it, Waddle's the guy that I want to bet on. He's coming at an opportunity cost in redraft right now of guys like Marquise Brown, Cortland Sutton, James Conner, Ezekiel Elliott, Travis Etienne, guys who are either much more speculative or much more fragile. Tyreek Hill's going around the big boys. Like I said, AJ Brown, T Higgins, Javonte Williams, Leonard Fournette. He's not even that far off from Saquon Barkley, Deebo Samuel. Tyreek Hill's kind of the last option I want there. I just think you have to be projecting way more pass attempts than we've ever seen out of this system to be able to be super bullish on Tyreek Hill. I also have moved Tyreek Hill recently in Dynasty. I did one deal. I got 23 first and the 209. That was in a draft. And then I also got one where I moved Tyreek Hill and Allen Robinson for Michael Pittman, a 24 first, and Kenny Gainwell.
Damn, that's actually solid. I'll take that. All right, let's talk about the running game, right? Because we actually brought up comment, where was it, up here, about Myles Gaskin asking, did he lose his job to Chase Edmonds? And I'm pretty sure that's a lock that's happened.
And Sony. And maybe Zaquandre White.
Yeah, I was going to say.
But yet he'll still find a way to start a few games this year, right?
I don't know that he's going to make the roster, to be honest.
No. The current coaching staff didn't bring him in, and the current coaching staff said, you know what? I'd like it if Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, and Sony Michelle were here. So, bye. Yeah, if he makes the team, I don't know. Does he play special teams? Because that's the only way he's making the team.
I think that he does, because he didn't play running back his first full year. So I assume he must have played some special teams.
That's true. I'm betting on Sony Michelle out of all those guys. I actually did
I'm betting on too.
Yeah, I did a DLF mailbag this week, actually yesterday. Go read. You'll see my reasons. But basically, based on cost, and the fact that Sony Michelle is probably in the same range of production value as Chase Edmonds, except you're getting them 2-3 rounds later. I'll take
way many rounds later. Yeah. I'm more in on Chase Edmonds probably than Shane is. Chase Edmonds strikes me as the guy who, if this was 2-3 years ago, would have been like the poster boy dead zone back. But now we're all too smart for that, so he goes in round 10. And I think Chase Edmonds is fine. Like he has a standalone role as a pass catcher, and he's probably going to get at least a share of the rushing. If he also leads them in rushing, then all of a sudden he becomes a really nice value. I think that's possible. I like Sony Michelle just based on him being clearly sort of a unique player in the backfield, and he's the only big back in the backfield. He seems like the favorite for goal line work. He's a guy where if other players start going around, getting injured around him, he's a guy that can withstand the workload. Mostert's the guy I'm the least interested in, just because he is a smaller running back that also doesn't catch passes. So it's like, what am I going to do with sort of a between the 20s guy in the committee? Not my favorite, but I think all of them are underpriced, quite honestly. Like, I think this backfield will produce fantasy points. It might not be the same guy week to week, but especially like in a best ball format where you don't have to actually worry about making start-sit decisions, I would want to be overweight on most of these guys.
So
here's my I got these nice shorts right here.
Axel in the chat asking about shorts or pants. So he feels like what Shanahan's always looked for, right? Shanahan forever has looked for this pass catching back, and for some weird reason, he's never had one that has held up.
Kyle Juszczyk.
Yeah, okay, the fullback, but I mean, he's looked for like the Evan Roysters of the world, right? He's looked for the Jarrett McKinnons of the world. He's looked for this. What's up?
Oh, I just forgot that Evan Royster existed. That was an incredible
yeah.
play.
Oh yeah, no, he looks for these running backs that have hands that are smaller, that are super agile, and they end up getting hurt
backs that have
every single year. So I mean, they could have installed this idea, this concept that he's like, I got to use Jarrett McKinnon for this. I got to use Jarrett McKinnon for this, and Jarrett McKinnon was never healthy. But Mike McDaniel could have carried that over and have this obsession with getting that pass catching back, which is why I think that Chase Edmonds could absolutely have a role in this offense. But it's going to be a third down back role. I think that he might be a little bit too rich for my blood in terms of like 10th round, maybe probably close to the 12th. Let's go ahead and hop off of the Dolphins and let's hop. Get the hell out of here, Shane. Let's go ahead. Let's hop on
on a 3-hour pace. We might want to,
Yeah, you got to speed this up, Chase. You got till 10 o'clock, bro.
All right, Jets.
Host better.
Jets, who do you like?
Love Breece Hall. Individually, I love Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson. And by default, I almost have to like Zach Wilson because I love his basically all of his weapons.
Yeah, I don't have to add much because I agree with Shane, and I'm sure I would make the same point 8 times longer with some arcane metaphor about economics, but I won't this time.
Adam Smith once said.
Yeah, exactly. Usually, so I like the Jets. I like Elijah Moore. I love Garrett Wilson. I like Breece Hall. Hopefully, Zach Wilson's kind of good. I don't really like Corey Davis. He's what David Ricardo would call an inferior good.
I can't, dude. I can't. All right, which tight end would you guys rather have? CJ Uzomah or Conklin?
Because the beat reporters say that he's going to start, and I have no idea, so I'll go with the beat reporters.
Yeah, I mean, Uzomah's more fun because he's like a big play threat, but you kind of
is he a big play threat, or did the Ravens not cover him on 2 plays?
Well, I mean, no,
are you talking about a 3 touchdown game?
He had a few games where he touchdowns, where he put up big yards, and you're like, wow, he must have a ton of targets. And you're like, he had 3 targets for 70 yards.
That was one game.
I'm not betting on any of these tight ends. If I had to, it would be Conk.
All right.
I've been taking the Conk Daddy in round 18 of my best ball drafts because I take a lot of Zach Wilson stacks for the reasons Shane said. And then I get to the 18th round. It's like, well, I could use a third tight end here. I guess I'll go with the Conk Daddy.
So we talk about Breece Hall, right, being a running back that you want to own, especially in Dynasty. But Michael Carter, like, where does his value actually lie? Or you guys want to take him? Because, I mean, we talk about these offenses from Shanahan and how often their running backs get hurt, regardless of where the offense goes, because it's a wide zone run scheme.
Your theory is that Shanahan's schemes cause running back injuries.
The wide zone run scheme.
I actually
they have
think
a higher
Chase
injury rate.
Point here. I don't usually say that, but I actually think he has a point here.
They have the highest injury rate. Wide zone run scheme has the highest injury rate out of any run scheme there is because your whole job is to get out as fast as you can. If you get caught from behind, you're fucked. Once you get uphill, you have to find a crease and just run as hard as you can into the hole. And you can't have any kind of like vision or awareness through that hole because your whole job is just to burst through.
It could be that he just, he tries to use backs like Jerick McKinnon and Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman, who are incredibly small. Breece Hall is a fucking man. Breece Hall is going to see no less than 300 opportunities this year. Michael Carter will be the Ty Johnson role. 30% of snaps. Good for him.
What about Ty Johnson? What's his role?
His role is the Tevin Coleman role. So, yeah, now I'm fine.
Coleman got re-signed. What's his role?
He is going to be the Michael Lapirine role.
Oh, yeah.
There it is.
Yes. Yeah. For the win.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, what happened to Pirine?
You landed the plane, dude. You landed the plane.
Did Pirine get cut?
No, he's still there. He's still there.
So, where's his
and then I just want to know, so if Pirine's still there, is he the Austin Walter role?
Yeah. So now, look, Carter, again, I don't
nailing the Jets running backs right now.
Check out the article I wrote on fantasy data. I dove into some numbers and, mathematicals. But, yeah, I expect Michael Carter to see about a 30% snap share, and that's about it. No, he's an excellent handcuff if you do that. In Dynasty, it's fine. handcuff and redraft.
Yeah, I would view Carter similarly to how I view I guess. Although probably I'd prefer to have Gainwell because Breece Hall is a lot more imposing than Miles Sanders.
A little bit, yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and hop off the Jets and on to probably the most, I guess, fantasy dominant team in the NFL, a team that you can probably find a bunch of number ones at each position, in the New England Patriots, right? We have the New England Patriots with Mac Jones, with a simplified offense now, because I guess Mac Jones didn't understand the offense as well last year, so they had to simplify it for him even more. You got a whole running back by committee show, just like you see. Of course,
it's gonna. I don't think it's Mac Jones that didn't understand. I think they have to simplify it because they have a defensive coordinator calling the plays. So I think they had to be like, Matt Patricia, can you run the Earhart Perkins? And he's like, oh wait, Perkins? That's where they have the Magnificent Seven breakfast. And then they're like, no, that's an offensive scheme. And Matt Patricia's like, takes a pencil out of his ear. He starts writing down his notes. And they're like, wait, you still want me to call plays? And they're like, yeah, we do. And he's like, okay. So he gets out his Madden that night. And then he's like, all right, I have 4 plays: quick slants, curl flats, half-pack dive, quarterback spike. And then they're like, yeah, that sounds pretty simplified.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the system is. It's just different formations within the same 20 plays that you have. So you pretty much just fuck with the defenses. But, I mean, I don't understand how you can simplify it even more, because it's literally the same plays, like I said, just different personnel packages. So how could they simplify it even more? What are we going to see from the fantasy value? Is there anybody that you actually want on your team? Because I think that Jacoby Myers could end up seeing even bump than what he saw last year. This could be a breakout year for Jacoby Myers. Damian Harris is probably going to see a shit ton of touches because there's nobody there to be that governor to keep Bill Belichick.
Ramondre Stevenson was running rampant last year towards the end of the year. And I love Damian Harris, but unfortunately, Ramondre Stevenson's going to be in there a lot. Yeah, I saw that tweet, Steve, if Chase wants to put that up. Yeah, I mean, look, some yards.
Reject the premise.
I reject the premise. Some statistics, I believe, can be misleading, and they're not all inclusive. And the fact that they have similar air yards means absolutely nothing to me. I don't know the quality of those air yards. I like to see them.
Wait, but these are just their incomplete air yards. What about their complete air yards?
Well, that was 9,000 yards for Burrow and 4 for Mac Jones. No, I don't know what that was. But yeah, I did see that tweet. I did think it was an interesting tweet, but that's one of those tweets like that makes me feel like, or one of those statistics that, just like Jacob said, well, what about? I'd like to dig a little deeper in there.
Yeah, but Burrow has playmakers.
Here's what I would say to that tweet is, okay, so let's take this as seriously as we can and say, okay, actually Mac Jones is somewhat comparable to Joe Burrow. I don't think that he is, but let's say that that's the case. Okay, then why was there such a large discrepancy in fantasy production on these similar outputs? Probably because Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and Mac Jones has a bunch of Tyler Boyds. And then this year, he still has a bunch of Tyler Boyds. And not even actual Tyler Boyd. They wish they were Tyler Boyds.
He's got an Auden Tate with Devontae Parker. So, that's.
Yeah, so
I like Devontae Parker.
All of these, so their wide receivers, actually, I think are interesting in best ball. Parker, Myers, Bourne, they're all cheap enough. They're in a competent enough offense that in best ball, I don't really have an issue with them. But I don't think you're ever going to want to start any of these guys in a managed league, maybe a really deep one. But if we're talking 2,
10, 11, 12, 13, that's it.
Yeah, some really deep ones, sure.
Yeah.
I still like Myers. He's young, he's flash target earning potential, so he's interesting to me. Parker's okay, I guess, if you're doing a running back heavy build and need a flex support, and he's cheap, but I don't know. I think he's kind of washed. And then, Henry is
kind of washed. He had one good year, and now he's washed.
Well, I mean, I think he was washed when he came into the league. And then he became dry for 1 year, and then he immediately washed himself again. Hunter Henry, nice tight end too. If Hunter Henry actually, I guess this is interesting. If Hunter Henry ever ran more routes, he'd be really interesting. Last year, he tended to be around 65-70%. But he was earning targets at a pretty decent rate. He was really heavily used in the red zone. He could be a legit tight end 1, I think, if he ran more routes. I doubt it's going to happen. They still have Jonnu puttering around, making money to do nothing. And I agree with Shane on the backs. Ramonde's the one who's interesting to me because he has the pass catching skill set. Whether he'll ever play on passing downs, your guess is as good as mine. But like he has theoretically a 3-down skill set. Harris is just so limited on a committee team that all these running backs, I don't think you're really starting if they're all healthy. So Ramondre has the more interesting contingent upside to me.
So to Steven's point that he just brought up, in addition to what we just talked about, he asked, do we think he'll keep shitty receivers his entire career? It's crazy to think that Mac could actually be better if he gets competent weapons. He'll see a spike in production and value. And there's two big things for me that play a factor here. First off, Chase is an elite wide receiver. Higgins is very close to being an elite wide receiver. If not, they're about equal in terms of talent and ability and, being able to create plays, get open, etc. In addition, he has an elite level running back in Joe Mixon potentially. He has Tyler Boyd, which is way above average. The Patriots have never been able to draft wide receivers. They've drafted one good wide receiver, I think, in like the past 20 years. They haven't been able to pay wide receivers long-term to stay there and be successful. I think their one example of success was Edelman, maybe. And then we talk about their ability
I think he was a quarterback in college, I'm pretty sure. So I don't even know if that counts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we just look at like the fact that the Patriots have never been able to acquire talent. And also we're going to see an increase in pace of play for Joe Burrow. We're never going to see an increased pace of play from Bill Belichick's offenses, up until Bill Belichick actually retires and they have to find, some sort of different scenario, which hell, we don't even know. They might end up going with their defensive coordinator at this point to become the head coach next after he has an okay year.
Joe Judge?
Yeah, Joe Judge, whoever they end up picking at this point, who even knows? But yeah, so I feel like we're just going to see the same exact thing with Mac Jones. And that doesn't mean that Mac Jones is bad. It just means that he's never going to be a top 12, or I should say probably a top 10 option. He might have a year, maybe two, where he's top 12.
Yeah, I think Mac Jones is he's a stable dynasty investment. I understand the appeal in theory where it's like, okay, you stick him at QB2, you're never going to have to worry about QB2 for a long time and he's not that costly. I get that. I just think that he still has a pretty high opportunity cost relative to other positions that can provide significant value over replacement within their positions. Like Mac Jones, I mean, this is the issue too. Like the biggest issue is Mac Jones does not run. And every year, more quarterbacks come into the league and are mobile. And so that bar, I just think like people point to Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins and Phillip Rivers and QB1 seasons they had years and years ago. I just don't know if that's the future. Like, I don't know that we're going to see if Mac Jones has a Matt Ryan type career, is he going to have as many QB1 finishes as Matt Ryan? I don't think so. So I would rather take swings at elite young wide receivers where Mac Jones goes personally. And then just, try and take two elite quarterbacks or punt QB2 instead until you're able to find an elite option. I just don't think building around Mac Jones to me is great, but he's not like at risk or anything. He's fine.
All right. So Twitter has a constant war over there on Gabriel Davis and Dawson Knox. I mean, we've all tweeted about it enough. Like, do we need to talk about the Bills more than, what we've already seen? Or do you guys kind of feel like, hey, Gabriel Davis is a value if he falls a little bit? Dawson Knox is a value if he falls a little bit. Josh Allen should be the first quarterback selected. Stephon Diggs should be a top 10 wide receiver. Like, is there anything we need to add to that? Are you guys ready to talk about the
Let's talk about AFC Knox. I'm tired of talking about Davis.
Yeah, sell Davis to some fool in your league that thinks he's worth a 23 first because, okay. Sell Knox because he's not going to have enough volume and he's going to score 11 touchdowns. That's all I got. You want to take Josh Allen at 101, fine, but I'm taking Mahomes.
Yeah, I love Josh Allen. I don't really love either of the running backs, but I also don't really hate either of the running backs.
James Cook is going to smash.
I guess I hate Cook most at cost. So I wouldn't be loving James Cook. I'm fine with Gabe Davis's price in Dynasty. It's whatever. Dawson Knox. Yeah, the one thing I'd say on Knox is just he's really not good. There's no evidence that Dawson Knox is good. He scored some touchdowns. In fact, but there is a lot of evidence that he's bad. Actually, is what the evidence says. He was out there last year. He had like a 13% target share, earned a target on 16% of his routes. The bull case that you can make for Davis is fundamentally different than Knox. The case for Davis is that he wasn't running enough routes. If you transpose what he was doing on his routes to a full number of routes, maybe you have something there. We'll see if that happens. With Knox, like, he's actually in a worse situation, in my estimation, than he was last year because Gabriel Davis was earning targets at a higher rate on his routes than Manny Sanders was on his. Crowder and McKenzie have historically had higher targets per route than Cole Beasley. And then James Cook comes in, who's a much more threatening pass catcher out of the backfield than Devin Singletary. So, like, I've seen people say, vacated targets.
That's good points.
And like the targets actually aren't vacated. I think the targets are being replaced by better players. Like we have Gabriel Davis, who's a better player than Emmanuel Sanders. Crowder's better than Beasley, in my opinion, or at least comparable. And Cook is certainly an upgrade in the receiving game versus Devin Singletary.
That's great. That's great. So I did get a trade offer while we're on the show live.
Trade offer.
Before we end up going over
to the
live
accepted
West,
trade offer.
I haven't accepted it yet. I showed it on camera, but I don't think anybody was watching.
I couldn't really see it.
Yeah, I was trying to make sure that like it was far enough away, but like the light's hitting it. So Javonte Williams for Breece Hall and a 2023 second, most likely late. I love Javonte Williams, but at the same time, Javonte Williams for Breece Hall and a 2023 second.
Breece Hall in the fucking second, bro.
Yeah, Breece Hall in the second.
Yeah, so I would go with that, but I do like Javonte Williams. Can I get into focus, please? Like, what the hell?
No.
You're making my eyes hurt, bro. That's Breece Hall, slam dunk. Do it.
Come on, focus in.
No, he was being asked to get Breece Hall.
Steve, it was very blurry.
Yeah, it was. And now I'm blurry.
And AFC West, baby. This is the fun talk.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. So I know we're not a football show, and I know I'm super blurry right now, but hopefully you can hear me clearly. I have the Chiefs actually missing the playoffs, but all four teams have a winning record in the AFC West.
What odds can I book that on right now?
I don't know. I don't know where you can find it. There we go. I'm clear again.
No, I want to buy it. I don't want to book it on a real book. I want to book it on Vernon.
We'll talk about it after the show. I need to think about
duel.
That. So I have all
smack.
three. I have all three AFC West teams outside of the Chiefs finishing 11-6, and I have the Chiefs at 10-7. So regardless,
the math, is it possible for all four of them to make the playoffs? Like, what would need to happen?
So it is, but I have the Miami Dolphins actually beating them out because the schedule is so much easier. The Chiefs' schedule is brutal. If you guys haven't checked it out, it's absolutely
they all
insane.
play the NFC West too, which is a really great division. So it really makes life difficult on these guys.
And I mean, we talk about the defense kind of playing better last year, but overall they're falling apart. They lost a couple key pieces. I mean, the rest of the division is sick. I have them going 3-3 inside the division. But I mean, and they're still good at 10-6. 10-6 would have made the playoffs last year, but I ended up going and I did the AFC and the NFC over the course of the past 6 weeks now, and I was missing a 500 record overall by only one game, which is absolutely insane to me because I didn't base my records off of anybody else's schedule. So, anyways, the point being is the AFC West division is going to be really tough. Going 3-3 for the Chiefs is absolutely absurd in previous years, but now you have four completely stacked teams, especially on offense and on defense. These teams aren't that bad either. Obviously, every team in this division, their players are going early. We talk about the Chiefs with Travis Kelce. We talk about, Patrick Mahomes obviously going early. We have Mike Williams and Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert and Austin Eckler. Those four are going really early.
This dynasty. Keenan Allen should not be going early. Mike Williams should not be going early. Travis Kelce should not be going early. If you're bad at dynasty, yes, then draft them early.
What's their ADP right now on DLF?
Kelsey's probably the tight end 3 because you can get 2 years of production out of him. Whatever Keenan Allen is, it's too high if it's above wide receiver 25. Mike Williams had one good half season. Please don't waste your money on him. And he's not even young. He's 28 years old after being in the league for 3 years because he came out of college. He apparently got his doctorate. So, no. Keenan Allen.
If Mike Williams has a doctorate, what do you think his doctorate would be in?
Sports injuries.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it would be in mid-air contortionism.
Yeah, it's something. Circus acts. No, I mean, but these players are going at a decent, place. Like people are still valuing them super high. I mean,
in the mid rounds. Yeah.
Somebody sent me a trade for to send me Keenan Allen for Rashad Bateman. I mean, where are you guys sitting with that one?
I would much rather have Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, dude, you even have to think about that. That's a 31-year-old wide receiver who's literally no value. He has no value. There's no trade value.
Well, I'll say this though. So Shane's right; he doesn't have a lot of trade value. But I'll take your Keenan Allens, not for Rashad Bateman, but in general, Keenan Allen's a guy that I'm looking to acquire. I want to. I talked about this a lot on yesterday's show. We were talking about value over replacement, and I'm a guy who I want to store most of the value of my team, ideally, in draft picks and in current year production. I don't want to hold a bunch of like young guys who may or may not produce in the future. If I'm storing that future value, I want to do it in the form of draft picks. So Keenan's one of my favorite guys, where if I have, one of these younger wide receivers, a DK Metcalf, a Jalen Waddle, a T Higgins, etc., if I can get like Keenan Allen in a first, right? If I can get, Keenan Allen in a first for one of those receivers in a second or something like that, that's something that I want to look into. Or if I can replace the production with Keenan and then add picks on top, that's something that I'm very interested in doing. So I don't have a problem with Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen is at the age now where, he's 26, 27-year-old wide receivers. You have to worry about value decline from age. Keenan is well beyond that. Like, you're just buying Keenan and you're buying his points until he dies. Like, he's never going to be worth more in the market than he's worth to you in production. Mm-hmm. So I don't mind buying Keenan, getting probably 2 more years of wide receiver 2 production out of him, and then letting him die.
Oh, Steven, throw this up. I did not realize Mike Williams was going at wide receiver 38. That's kind of crazy to me.
He's going at wide receiver 17, Keenan Allen, in DLF. That's ridiculous.
I told you. I knew Keenan Allen was going early. I thought Mike Williams was going way earlier than that.
People do stupid shit. I don't know what to tell you. People just do dumb ass shit. And yes, if someone wants to give me a 23 first for DJ Moore and give me a free Keenan Allen, yes, I will take it. Because the 23 first is more value than that player anyway. And Keenan Allen's just me punching you in the nuts for your stupidity.
I'm totally fine. Kelsey, by the way, is a guy like there's one old player. I have no issue just straight up.
Yeah, you know what?
He's going to provide so much value over replacement at the tight end position. The tight ends historically age pretty well, the elite ones, until they decide they don't want to play football anymore, like Gronk. I don't know how much longer Kelsey has left, but like, he's going to rack up massive value over replacement. His production isn't replaceable in the way that Keenan or Mike Williams is. I have no problem going out and buying Kelsey on a contender. And this is the cheapest he's ever been. It's also the most expensive he'll ever be. But I don't have a problem with drafting Kelsey or trading for Kelsey.
All right. So what are we going to do with the...
Wow, I thought that was so eloquent, and nobody even acknowledged it. That Travis Kelsey is the cheapest he's ever been and the most expensive he'll ever be. Come on.
No, I got it, because he's declining.
That was a good one.
We got it.
Yeah,
Throw some
that was
third
give
century.
me a curveball.
Yeah, we got it.
I just think sometimes I try to come up with these turns of phrase all
Jacob,
day long.
I pat you on the head. I give you a good job, buddy, when you throw something super, great out there. That one was like,
hey, Steve.
I thought I had bars. I'm sorry.
Stephen Harmon, take it easy on DLF. All right, I write for them. I don't rank for them. They haven't asked me to rank.
rankings like they've fallen off.
Yeah,
who's fallen off? Keenan Allen.
If they let me rank,
value.
If they let me rank, those rankings would be hot fire, and there'd also be like just a bunch of young dudes. Like,
he also said
would be allowed.
He also said ADP in the previous one, not the rankings. Well, he said rankings. This said ADP.
Yeah. Well, that ADP. I mean, then it's not the rankers you have a problem with. It's the people. You have a problem with the general public.
Yeah. And look, Steve, I completely agree with you. I hate the general public and all of the public. Anyway, so who else?
Public.
All right. So let's talk about what do we do with the Denver wide receiver room? Or all the Denver wide receivers, all the players. Javonte Williams. Why do you guys hate Javonte Williams?
Buy them, or we could sell them, or we could hold them.
No one hates Javonte Williams. What I dislike about Javonte Williams is he was a running back, 24, whatever he was last year, and he's now the RB3 in Dynasty. Like it's all projection, and just he's never been the primary. Well, he's been the primary. Excuse me. He's never been the lone back in any backfield that he's ever been in. Go back to his high school days. No. I'm not going to, but I'm just going to say.
Well, he actually played linebacker in high school, so
he couldn't even carry. He couldn't even handle a backfield to himself in high school. But definitely,
we handled some backfields. He was tackling those at the ground.
He was in a split backfield in college, and I know they didn't give Melvin Gordon much money, and they did wait to sign him. But he just feels like there's always going to be another guy there. He's going to be an efficiency monster. Just remember though, when you ask for efficiency monsters to get more volume, because the efficiency, is going to somehow stay the same. It doesn't stay the same. It never does.
Here's a great way to think about Javonte. What percentage of touches do you think Breece Hall will get in the Jets backfield once, he's sort of established?
70%.
Right. So what percentage did Javonte Williams get when he was sharing a backfield with the same guy that Breece is sharing with now? About 45%. Yeah. So then maybe Breece Hall's better, right? Maybe that's what we think.
Come on.
So
that's a projection, sir. That's a projection. That's all projections.
Well, that projection's about to become reality. I mean, here's the thing: the Giants had the guy who rendered Javonte Williams a timeshare back on their team, and they were like, "We need Breece Hall." I like Javonte. I think he's a good back. He's a rare young guy where I actually think he's like a much better bet in redraft, where I'm getting some of the uncertainty is more priced in. Like I can draft him in the early third round on underdog, and it's like, okay, well, at this point, like I actually have some upside beyond this price where if the ceiling scenario does hit and Melvin Gordon gets hurt or he's a big old dust ball, then maybe Javonte Williams actually can exceed his price. In Dynasty, paying that top 5 price for him, I'm just praying that he like meets his price. I'm praying that he's worth close to what he's worth now. Like I just feel like there's only a way to go down. And that's just because the 2017 running back class is old. They have all of our favorite running backs, and they're all old. And so people are searching high and low for the player to put into the top 5, and Javonte has kind of fallen there. And I also think with Javonte that, again, I keep saying that he's good, and yet I keep talking like I don't think that. But I think that he's a little bit overrated. I think that what we have with a lot of these running backs is that people like to focus on running back metrics that they think isolate running back talent. I mean, so do I. And a lot of those usually revolve around tackle breaking. It's either juke rate, or it's elusive rate, or it's tackle evasion rate, tackle avoidance rate, yards after contact, broken tackles per rush, et cetera, et cetera. The problem with most of these stats is that there's 12 different versions of the same trait, which is how good are you at breaking tackles. And I see these tweets that like list 10 different stats, and Javonte is like second, third, sixth, first, fourth. It's like, well, of course, it's the same fucking stat. It's just how many tackles do you break. And then when you look at all of the other aspects of rushing, which is, how often are you avoiding negative runs? Do you have breakaway runs after you've broken that first tackle? Well, when you add it all together, he looks kind of the same as Melvin Gordon. He looks like a good running back, not a particularly great running back yet. He was a rookie, so being good is fine. He doesn't have to be elite as a rookie. I think he'll have a lovely career. But I think that people have overemphasized this one trait that he's already elite at and said that he's already an elite talent, when I think he's just a good talent that has some elite traits.
I think it was more so the case of what he did in one game without Melvin Gordon, and they're extrapolating this massive.
That's true. He averaged 30. He averaged like 28 points per game, and so that's what he'll average this year. When Melvin Gordon, he's still there. Yeah,
I think that was the biggest part. It's like people forgot that he resigned. So let's talk about the Chiefs real quick, because that was somebody that I brought up.
Skye Moore. I want Melvin Gordon on every one of my dynasty teams. He's got standalone value, and he's got a ton of contingent upside, right? I mean, here, like, I understand Melvin Gordon is like a big boring dust ball, and like Tony Pollard and AJ Dillon are fun and exciting, but aren't they kind of the same bet? It's like you get a guy in a good offense. What's the difference? So they're all guys that are going to get 40% of the touches in a great offense, and if the starter goes down, then they get all the touches in a great offense. Like I'm obviously in Dynasty, I understand that AJ Dillon and Tony Pollard are more Dynasty. I'm talking about this year in 2022. What's the difference between Melvin Gordon, AJ Dillon, and Tony Pollard?
AJ Dillon could be a top 3 running back or top 5 running back if somebody does go down. Way more than the other guys could. But
why can't Melvin Gordon be a top 5 running back?
Melvin Gordon could too.
No, what? He's a 28-year-old running back in what's most likely going to be a pass-first offense.
What would be passing the ball in Green Bay? What would be the difference between him and Leonard Fournette?
Who? AJ Dillon?
Yeah, Javonte Williams. I hope this does not happen. Javonte Williams breaks his leg tomorrow. Why is Melvin Gordon not a round 2 pick in redraft?
Because he's not a good running back. Like, he's not efficient.
He was just as efficient as Javonte Williams last year.
No, he has not been efficient throughout his entire career. He had one efficient year. I'm pretty sure. Javonte Williams.
Efficiency matter? Has Leonard Fournette ever been efficient? Has Joe Mixon ever been efficient?
Yeah, last year he was while catching the ball, but I don't like Leonard Fournette. I'm not a big fan of him.
What's the difference between Melvin Gordon in a world without Javonte and Joe Mixon? They're both in pass-first offenses. They both have some limitations in efficiency. They both have limitations as a receiver. Why are they any different?
Because Tom Brady passes to the running back.
Tom Brady plays with Joe Mixon?
You said Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, and...
Okay, I said Joe Mixon, Melvin Gordon. What's the difference between those two?
I'm not drafting Joe Mixon.
People are.
I'm not. He's not in my rankings. Like he's one of those guys.
He's unranked.
Same thing.
17th round. You wouldn't
same
draft
thing
Joe
with
Mixon.
David Montgomery, baby. I'm not touching him.
Unranked.
Yes, they did, Steven. Yes, they did. I'm tired of this conversation. What's next?
Ty.
Oh,
let's talk about the. We have the Raiders. That's the last team.
No, I want to bring up the Chiefs, and I want to talk about Skye Moore. I want to talk about the wide receivers over there and the running backs to an extent. Okay. I mean, we have Skye Moore, who people have been kind of dumping on as of late. He reps in the training camp, although we didn't really expect him to after he suffered that injury. I mean, is Skye Moore the fourth wide receiver on this team at this point? And should we expect him to finish the year as the fourth wide receiver?
Maybe to the first, but I don't care, and definitely not to the second. I think that like MVS will be the first wide receiver, probably in like the sense of who leads them in routes, because he has the element that nobody else has, which is that he's large and he blocks well and he runs fast. So he'll be the split end wide receiver that's probably running 90% of the routes. He's not going to lead them in targets. I think in most outcomes, Juju is the lead target getter out of the wide receivers this year. But Skye Moore, I think, will certainly, earn work over Mecole Hardman. And when Skye Moore is on the field with Juju and MVS, he will be earning targets at a much better clip than MVS. So I expect Skye Moore to be the third option in the passing game this year behind Kelsey and Juju. I don't think it's inconceivable that he passes up Juju at some point in time this year. It would very much surprise me if he plays behind Mecole Hardman the entire year. But the Chiefs also rotate their wide receivers a lot as well. So my thoughts on Skye is I would not worry all that much about, I can easily see a scenario where we play the preseason game. Mecole's running with the ones. Skye's running with the twos. People have all their panicky out. I'll be buying Skye Moore. They're going to rotate wide receivers in at the beginning of the year. And when Skye Moore gets on the field, hopefully he's going to show that he's better than Mecole Hardman and MVS, because he's better than Mecole Hardman and MVS. And then it's going to be fine.
Shane?
I didn't listen to your original question because I was spaced out. But I think in general, I expect Skye Moore to outproduce MVS. I expect them to easily outproduce Mecole Hardman, and I would not be shocked if he outproduces Juju.
All right, let's hop on the Raiders.
I would be shocked if he outproduces Kelsey.
I would be dumbfounded. Yes. I'm high on Skye Moore. I'm just not high right now.
That was bars, dude. That was bars.
All right, where do we expect Darren Waller to finish up the year? Our drafting him? Are we saying? Are we taking Foster Moreau over Darren Waller at this point?
No,
I like Darren Waller is a great buy for me, right?
Yeah.
He is definitely a guy that I'm loving buying, even though he's I guess people are putting Schultz in front of him. They're putting Knox in front of him. They're putting just Goddard in front of him. Guys, stop. Just stop. I know Devontae Adams is there. Devontae Adams is there, but it's still going to be a very concentrated target share. It's going to be Waller, Adams,
and Moreau. Shit.
I like Darren Waller a lot, and he's still only 30.
Yeah, he's going to be 30 this year. So he's a young 30 because he didn't really start playing until 27.
So he's still a buy for me in Dynasty, and he's low because people think because he had one bad season. I guess I'll call it bad. It wasn't even bad, but he had one injury plague season that somehow he's not good anymore.
How many good seasons did he have?
He had 2 very good seasons, which were basically his only 2 seasons as a starter until last season. I mean, he's been remarkably. Darren Waller's just good. You look at it's more stable than people think. 2019, 29% target rate, 24% target share. 2020, 29% target rate, 29% target share. He ran basically all the routes. 2021, 27% target rate, 24% target share. Guy's good. He's a legitimate alpha wide receiver that you can start at tight end. Now Devontae Adams comes in, who's an alpha wide receiver. That's fine. When Waller and Renfrow played together, Waller was outproducing Renfrow consistently. Renfrow went ham in the month that Waller was out, and so it made their season-long stats look a lot closer. But when they were both in the field together, Waller was consistently out-targeting him. His efficiency came down last year. I'm not that concerned about efficiency. It tends to regress. So I think Waller is going to be just fine. His target share will come down a bit with Adams. I expect to be in the low 20s, and I still expect him to be in that tier with Pitts and Kittle competing for tight end 3 behind Andrews and Kelsey this year.
Yep.
Keith wants to know what you would pay to get Waller. Let's do Dynasty, of course, because at this point we're drafting.
What I would want to use, ideally, is a wide receiver that's in that morass right? Or maybe even 2, right? Because Waller is a guy that can actually produce points over replacement. So if I can get rid of any wide receiver that's going to produce somewhat similarly to him, I want to do that. So, we mentioned Keenan Allen. I would want to use guys like, I'd like to use a guy like Bateman, who's getting a ton of hype right now. I would be more interested in converting a wide receiver 2 to a tight end 1, a top 5 tight end, personally, in tight end premium leagues.
How about Kadarius Toney, someone like that?
What?
I'll give you Kadarius.
I don't imagine that gets accepted, but
certainly
I would rather have
accept
Waller than Kadarius Toney.
Well, I'm not giving up Rashad Bateman for him, so you better find some other happy medium that is in between Bateman and Kadarius Toney.
I'm on Ross St. Brown.
Shane, pull up DLF real quick and see who's around that rank.
What?
See who's around the rank.
ADP doesn't have anything to do with trades.
Would you give up Amon-Ra St. Brown for Darren Waller?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that there's 0.5 tight end premium. Like all my leagues are 0.5 tight end premium.
Oh, I don't.
All the kids play tight end premium these days. I'd be trying to get Waller. I'd also my favorite thing in the world to do would be to do like Schultz in a second for Waller. Like that would make my day.
What about Goddard?
Definitely. Goddard.
I would do that too, but I like Goddard more than Schultz. Like Goddard's situation is a bummer, but Goddard has actually flashed like serious talent. Like he's actually showed the ability to earn a lot of targets and be efficient on those targets in a way that Schultz and Knox have not. So I'm more eager to move off of Schultz and Knox than I am Goddard. But if my choice is Goddard or Waller, I prefer Waller. I just think with Goddard, like I think we have to be patient with Dallas Goedert, but I feel like he's going to have a year, one of these years, where the situation breaks right for him and he's going to have a really big year.
1 year eventually.
We got it for like half of last season, but then they ran the ball a million times, and so we didn't fully get it. It's sad.
Let me finish off this question because there was a late round question where it's like, somebody ended up somehow acquiring with their last pick. Which one?
Renfro is the NFL's Alex Caruso. You guys don't even watch basketball, do you? You don't know who Alex Caruso is?
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Let me.
I remember who he is. No, I know who he is. So we got to get out of here, but before we do, I want to know: would you take Kenyon Drake with your last pick?
Sure.
No, I'll take Zamir White. Can I get Zamir White instead?
Nope, because Zamir White's going to like round 12, round 13.
No, I'll get a rookie running back. I'd rather go get Snoop Connor, to be honest with you, because it's
really
more fun, and I haven't seen him fail repeatedly in the NFL like I have Kenyon Drake.
I would also rather.
Drake's making $12 million this year, isn't he?
Doesn't matter. He made $12 million last year. What did he do last year? Oh, whatever he made.
$12 million in either of those years.
That's $6 million.
Was it $5 million this year? No, wait.
I don't know.
Oh, no, it was $12 million for 2 years. But it was 5.
Whatever it is he's been there long enough that they know he's not good. So I'm fine. And even
Kenyon Drake is the weirdest player. Like he's like not good at rushing. He's not good at receiving. He's not good at blocking. They like always give him like these weird touches that are like kind of valuable, but there's only 6 of them. I don't know. It's like,
and then he shows flashes, but they never end up.
Yeah, like he's such a strange player. Like last year, they were like, Kenyon Drake, we can't play you on early downs, we can't play you on third down, so we will throw you a wheel route every now and again. It's like, what is this? Why can't any of the good players get these kind of wheel routes? Like,
it's so strange. All right, Shane, where can we find you? Let's get out of here, man.
Shane is the worst on the Twitter. My links to my various shows and writing places are on there, so check it out.
Jacob?
Find me on Twitter at @FF_RTDB. I feel like I've been like potting and talking about fantasy football even more than usual recently. So check out my Monday night show with Pat Crane on cash consideration to the best ball show. Check out last night's episode of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. We did an episode on value over replacement. Then I'm here tonight. Friday, I'm doing our first high-stakes draft of the season on FFBC with Josh Larkey. I don't think we're going to stream it live, but we're going to record it, and then we're going to release a recording afterwards. And then I'll be back next week. The usual programming, same bat times, same bat channels, Twitter, FF_RTDB.
We got some big news to announce as well.
You guys announce it right now?
No, because we got to sign our contract. We got to sign our contract first.
You haven't signed it yet?
No, I've been busy as shit all day.
No, it's hard.
How hard can it be? DocuSign.
It takes a lot of time to sign something. A lot of time.
I can do it right now if you guys want to wait. I mean, we can have some dead air real quick. I'll sign it right now.
We'll announce it next week.
All right, cool.
Good news.
So make sure you guys tune in. Make sure you guys hit subscribe over there on youtube.com/fantasyintervention. I got some big things in the works. We're working on a few things, and I think I'm gonna hyper focus as we, hone in on the redraft season. I'm gonna hone in on really getting this show up and running again. I'm excited for a few things we got going on. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and thank you guys for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life.